The wind was howling across the open field, and every eye was on her. "You can't do this," they whispered, shaking their heads. But she didn't flinch. With her finger steady on the trigger, she lined up a shot that everyone said was impossible. One breath. One squeeze. And suddenly, the impossible became reality. The air was thick with tension, each gust of wind carrying whispers of doubt. "She shouldn't be here," one officer muttered under his breath. "This is too dangerous for her." Every eye in the field was on her now, a mix of skepticism and barely disguised amusement. They didn't believe she had what it took. She stood tall, despite the cold fingers of doubt brushing against her confidence. Her gear was precise, everything in its place, the rifle, the scope, the spare rounds. Years of training had led her to this moment, yet none of that seemed to matter to the people surrounding her. They saw only a young woman where they expected a seasoned sharpshooter, someone who had already proven themselves in the field. Every calculated movement, every drilled repetition, was about proving one thing, that skill and determination matter more than doubt. She knew the shot she was about to take was considered impossible, but impossible had always been her specialty. The commanding officer stepped forward, clipboard in hand, his expression unreadable. "You understand the risks?" he asked. The question wasn't for her. It was a warning to those who doubted her. "I do," she replied, her voice calm but unwavering. She didn't need permission to prove herself. She only needed the opportunity. Around her, the team fidgeted, adjusting equipment and casting sidelong glances. Some offered subtle encouragement, others quietly prepared for failure. But she blocked it all out, narrowing her focus to the rifle in her hands and the target in the distance. This was her domain now, and she would not be intimidated. She crouched into position, aligning herself with the invisible line between her and the distant mark. The wind tugged at her jacket and swept through the field, but she welcomed it. It was part of the challenge, a variable she could control through skill and concentration. She exhaled, feeling the tension drain from her shoulders and the calm clarity settle in. This was the moment where doubt met determination, where skepticism would either be confirmed or shattered. And she was ready. The field stretched before her like a living, breathing challenge. Every detail mattered, the slight tilt of the terrain, the whisper of wind through the grass, the distance that separated her from the target. To the onlookers, it might have seemed simple: line up, aim, shoot. But she knew better. Every fraction of a second, every subtle shift in weather, could turn precision into failure. She adjusted her scope, measuring the distance with meticulous care. Her fingers worked instinctively, calibrating for wind drift, bullet drop, and even the temperature of the metal barrel. Years of training had turned these calculations into muscle memory, and yet, the weight of the moment added a pressure no practice could replicate. This wasn't a drill. This wasn't another classroom exercise. This was real, and the impossible awaited her. Around her, whispers persisted. Some tried to mask worry with faint encouragement, others simply doubted openly. "It's too far. The wind's unpredictable." She ignored them all. Her mind was a sanctuary, a quiet place where logic and experience ruled over fear and distraction. Every inhale grounded her, every exhale released the tension that threatened to break focus. The environment itself seemed almost adversarial. The wind shifted suddenly, tugging at her jacket and rustling the distant trees. She calculated the new trajectory, her eyes scanning the subtle signs that others would overlook: the sway of the branches, the direction of the dust, the faint flicker of movement at her target's location. Each observation added a layer of complexity, yet also a layer of confidence. She was ready to master it. Time became a companion, then a silent opponent. The seconds stretched, each one measured and accounted for in her mind. Her breathing slowed deliberately, syncing with the rhythm of her heartbeat. The rifle felt like an extension of her body, and every micro-adjustment brought her closer to alignment. Her muscles were tense but controlled, coiled like a spring ready to release at the precise instant. The onlookers shifted nervously. Some whispered to each other, eyes darting between her and the target. Every movement, every slight change in posture, became magnified under the weight of anticipation. Yet she remained still, a beacon of calm in the storm of doubt and expectation. She was alone in her focus, and yet completely aware of the eyes watching her every decision. She reviewed the shot one last time in her mind, replaying the scenario with flawless precision. The impossible wasn't impossible when preparation, skill, and determination converged. One more breath. One final mental check. And then, she would take her place at the edge of history, whether they believed it or not. She exhaled slowly, letting the wind's rhythm guide her focus. Every muscle was coiled, every sense sharpened. The rifle rested against her shoulder like an extension of her own body. The target, a distant silhouette barely visible over the undulating terrain, seemed impossibly small, yet she didn't hesitate. She had trained for this, visualized it 1,000 times, and now it was real. Her finger brushed the trigger, light but confident. Around her, the murmurs of doubt had grown into a low hum of tension. Even those who had scoffed moments ago found themselves holding their breath. The impossible shot had already captured everyone's imagination. They just didn't realize she was about to make it possible. She adjusted the scope one final time, calculating the subtle shifts in wind and distance with precision only experience could teach. The scope's crosshairs framed the tiny target perfectly. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but from the sheer intensity of the moment. The field was silent now, every breath of air, every whisper of movement, magnified by anticipation. One breath. 2 breaths. She squeezed the trigger gently, a controlled motion that sent the bullet flying along its calculated path. Time seemed to stretch in that instant, the world narrowing to a single line connecting her to the distant mark. And then, a resounding impact. The impossible shot had been made. Gasps erupted across the field. Some eyes widened in shock, others filled with grudging respect. The murmurs of doubt were silenced, replaced by awe. They had watched her stand firm against every obstacle, every skeptical gaze, and now they had witnessed her triumph. The impossible was no longer a word, it was a fact, carved into the memory of everyone who had dared to doubt her. She lowered the rifle slowly, letting the reality of her success settle in. It wasn't arrogance, nor pride. It was proof of skill, preparation, and unwavering determination. She had taken the shot no one believed possible, and in doing so, she had transformed doubt into admiration. The commanding officer approached, his expression unreadable for a moment before breaking into a rare, approving smile. "Remarkable," he said simply, and the words carried more weight than any applause. Around them, the team began to react, some rushing forward to congratulate her, others still frozen in disbelief. In that moment, she realized the true victory wasn't the shot itself. It was the quiet affirmation that determination could overcome doubt, that skill could triumph over skepticism. And as she stood there, watching the wind settle over the field, she knew that this was only the beginning. The impossible was hers to challenge again, and she would never shy away.